Hello folks, I'm Keith and we're going to discuss today 3 or 4 subjects that hopefully you can utilize on any instrument you're playing, whether it be guitar or anything else. The subjects we're going to talk about are the pentatonic scales and some of the varieties thereof and their uses. A couple ideas on modal playing, and thirdly, expanding the blues. And lastly, we may talk about 4 or 5 types of world music. But let's start with the pentatonics. Guitar players are taught, for example, that if they've got an E chord, that they can play for rock and roll many times, a pentatonic, which amounts to these notes from the bottom to the top, E, G, A, B, D, E, or backwards, E, D, B, A, G, E. And so if they've got a rock and roll kind of background, this kind of thing. They can play solos, and you can do this on any instruments. Here's the background. I'll play a little pentatonic, and that's actually E minor pentatonic. That's not E major, that's E minor pentatonic. Okay, well the idea here is that what we're taught on guitar and some instruments is that is the pentatonic. Pentatonic just means 5-note scale. And if you're familiar with the keyboard, there's all these white notes and some black notes. Pardon me. The 5 black notes on a keyboard, if you're talking about the key of C, meaning the natural notes, which are the white notes, those 5 form a pentatonic scale built on F sharp, major, or E flat minor. Now what I mean by that is, if this is an E minor pentatonic, E, D, B, A, G, E, which going from the bottom would be the name of the pentatonic, E minor pentatonic, E, the minor third, it's a minor pentatonic, so we have minor third, E, G, the 4th, which is A, the 5th, which is B, the flatted 7th, which is D. And those are your 5 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you repeat them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in any key, the pattern is the same. In A minor here, there's an A minor chord. You have the name of the chord, the minor third. So A is the name of the chord. I go 1, 2, 3, and that's major, so I want minor. 1, 2, 3, so I get the minor third A, C, the 4th D, the 5th E, and the flatted 7th G, and there's your A minor pentatonic. Okay, well here's the deal. When you look at those black notes on the piano, they actually sound like this. And what that is an F sharp major pentatonic, or starting it on E flat, you get E flat minor pentatonic. At any rate, those 5 notes form the notes that are in any pentatonic scale. They can be named as F sharp pentatonic. And there's a reason for that, we'll talk about it in a minute. But here's what I'm trying to get to. If you've got a song going in E like we just did, a little rock and roll thing, you certainly can play the E pentatonic as we showed. But if you want more of a country western, old style western swing kind of thing, don't use the E minor pentatonic, use the E major pentatonic. The way you relate minor pentatonics to major pentatonics are If E is the minor pentatonic, then you go down a minor third. So you go from the if this is if this is 8 of a scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Go 8, 7, 6. So if your minor chord is E, you call it Do, you go Do, Ti, La, or 8, 7, 6. Then the note that starts on 6 is called its relative minor. So in the key of E major, C sharp minor is the relative minor. So if you play a C sharp minor pentatonic, which to guitar players looks like this. Okay, for C sharp that works fine the way we did it before. Okay, now when I'm talking about the western country, western swing kind of thing, put the pentatonic as the minor chord for your major key. In other words, I'm in E major, instead of using the E minor pentatonic, use the C sharp minor. So here's your E chord, you count down 8, 7, 6, and play the minor C sharp minor pentatonic. It turns out to be the E major pentatonic. So you get this kind of sound. I'm playing the C sharp minor pentatonic against that E chord again. You can hear it has a major sound. And the reason is, there's 2 scales. There's the minor pentatonic, which most guitar players just call the pentatonic, and there's a major pentatonic. So look at it in one more key for guitar. Here's a G chord. The minor pentatonic we know is 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, and 1 again. So now what we do is, for the major pentatonic, if you don't want to go down to the 6th degree, you do it like this. You say the name of the key, so we're in G, the name of the key is 1. The formula for a major pentatonic is this. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and I'm talking about scale degrees. 1, 2, 2nd degree, 3rd degree, 5th degree, 6th degree. So those are the scale degrees. And in G major, it's G, A, B, C, G, A, B, D, E. So when you play your G chord again, you'll get more of a kind of a folk melody rather than a blues melody. Here's the G chord. Which to me sounds a little country. Okay, so here's how we can use it, if you understand. I'm going to set it up playing a kind of rock and roll thing using the G minor pentatonic. Then I'm going to go to the G major pentatonic. And I think you'll hear a difference. I'm going to play 2 or 3 choruses, see if you can hear that each chorus I'll change from I'll change back and forth, and then the third one I'll just kind of mix it together. Here we go. I'm in the key of G here, so my major pentatonic is G, A, B, D, E. That's the major. back in minor. Back to major. Okay, way to remember that the old Southern song "Shortening Bread" really is based on the major pentatonic. So in the key of C, say, for example, the major pentatonic is 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 1, which is the scale degrees. C, D, E, G, A, C. 1, 2, 3, 6. Whoa. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 1. And listen, here, see if you hear shortening bread. It comes right out of there. Okay, and then the blues. Say I play that as my melody. There's my theme. I'm going to play a blues chord, or a kind of a rock blues thing, by using the minor pentatonic. So I'll set up shortening bread again, and then I'll play my solo using the minor pentatonic, which most guitar players call the pentatonic, and that sounds like this, which is C, B flat, G, F, E flat, C. By the way, one of my clients here said that if you push zoom on your remote, you might be able to see my fingers better, which is not that important really, but if you want to and you got zoom, try it. So here we go with shortening bread. I did cheat there and use both the major third and the minor third on that one little thing. I got carried away. Okay, so those are two things you can think about, major and minor pentatonics, and how you utilize them to get more varied sounds in your solos on whatever instrument you're playing, please. And one more. I was talking about the black notes being the pentatonics on the keyboard. Well, that can be used in an interesting way. Guys talk about outplaying and in-playing. A good way to learn what not to do is by intentionally doing what not to do when it's not dangerous, so that you know if these are the things, the holes you don't want to fall in, then you won't fall in if you know where they are. So in the key of C, those black notes on the piano sound like this, which is just an F sharp major pentatonic, or you can start it on E flat and get E flat minor pentatonic. Okay, the same notes, E flat, G flat, A flat, B flat, and D flat. So I'm going to play something in C, and then I'm going to play those, like the black notes on the piano, on the guitar, of course, and you'll hear that those notes are out for major, meaning that they're going to sound a little strange. And so what I'll do is this. I'll play for about 2 bars using just the natural notes, like it would be like I'm playing in the key of C with only the white notes. Then all of a sudden you'll hear a kind of out thing, and that'll be those 5 other notes, the pentatonics, which are the 5 black notes on the piano. We'll try this here. Okay, here it goes with vanilla. 5 other. So you can hear they really kind of bend the sound because none of them conform to what we think of as the natural notes in the key of C. So those are 3 ideas with pentatonic. Using a flatted fifth away, which means the black notes in the whatever key you're in. Say you're in the key of G, go a flatted fifth away, which means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then if you start a major pentatonic flatted fifth away from the key you're in, you'll get what amounts to the notes that are just not in the scale, and they'll sound pretty weird. And that's a good thing to do to try to understand what will not sound weird. Sorry to give you confusion on that. I'm not trying to do that. And so we got major, minor, and the flatted fifth away pentatonic. Okay, I'm going to come back to that later, I think. We're going to talk about something here now. A lot of people have been involved in the last number of years with modal playing, which really goes way back. They were originally called the church modes. If you had a major scale, say in the key of A flat here, which is really called the Ionian mode, or 1-to-1, do to do in any major key. And I'm in A flat, so I get do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, which is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. The modes are the 7 displacements of that scale. So the first mode, like I say, is the Ionian. It sounds like this. The second mode is called Dorian. It sounds like this, which means I start on not do but re. So I get. The next mode is called Phrygian, the 3 mode. The next mode is Lydian, the 4 mode. The next one is Mixolydian, or the 5 mode. And still an A flat here. A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat. So that's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Starting on 5 in the key of A flat still. This is the Mixolydian. Then the next one is the relative minor, or Aeolian mode, the 6 mode. The next one is the Locrian mode, or 7 mode. Okay, the reason I reviewed those is we're going to do 3 real quick things here, hopefully real quick, with modal. These are vamps, and a vamp is a repeated set of chords they can use as an exercise or to bring up a dog act or whatever you need. But they're good practice vehicles. So sometimes people make whole tunes of vamps, which are just little recorded things, or repeated things, excuse me. I've got 3 of them. The first one we'll start with, we're going to work in the key of C here. So in the key of C, I'm going to set up a vamp using the chords G major to F major. And for the G chord, if I add the 4th note of the chord, because the main chord is 1, 3, 5, there's a major chord. If I add the 4th note, it'd be a 7th, so we get G7th, which sounds like this. It looks like this on guitar. Or like this, or like this, or like this, or like this, or like this. Gets a little... Okay, anyway, if you got a 4 note, it's going to be a G7th, and the F chord will be an F major 7th, which is like this. So I'm going to set up as a Latin thing. And what I'm going to do is improvise based on the 5 mode of the key of C, which is G to G in the key of C, meaning no sharps and flats running from G to G. And you'll find this little vamp works very well, and it's been used for a lot of songs for improvising on a modal exercise. And what I'm going to do in the middle of this is go up a half step to kind of vary it. So I think you'll hear it. It's hard on a non-chorded instrument. If you're playing a non-chorded instrument, you want to get someone to play some backgrounds for you or record them or something. But here it is, starting in the key of G, going from G7th to F major 7th, then later I'll move it up 1 half step. Here we go. Okay. I was taking some liberties there, but I was using almost no notes that were not really part of the modal scales. I did go up from the G, F, up to G flat, to the F sharp. And when I did that, I was using the 5 scale of the key that it's in, which is D flat. So the formula for the mixolydian is easy. It's a major scale with a flatted 7. So whatever scale I'm in, say I want an A flat mixolydian, I go do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and then instead of T, I use what's called te, or flat T. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but it's a flat 7, so I get, which gives you kind of blues effect. It's a wonderful scale to fool with. We'll look at that again later when we put these things together. Another thing for modal practice, I think you'll like this. One of the most important of modal playing things is the Dorian mode, which is the Ray mode, or where you start a major scale on the 2nd degree and run it up to the 2nd degree, an octave above. You get what's called the Dorian mode. It's a minor scale with a flatted 7th. So in the key of, say, A, if the scale is normally A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, we started on the 2nd note, so it's B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B. And a good way to practice that is to play a B minor scale in the key of A, going to a lot of ways to do it, but I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do in 2 bars of 4 beats each, so that's 8 beats. I'm going to do 6 beats of B minor and 2 beats of C sharp minor. The C sharp minor is part of the same key, so it won't hurt anything, and it'll give a little variety. This I'm going to try to do in, I'm going to do this in 3/4, just for the fun of it. So here we are in the key of A. Really, we're in the key of A, but it's a B Dorian mode, which sounds like this. And here's the chord background I'm going to use for the vamp. Okay, and that'll keep coming back to B minor. In the middle of this, I'm going to take it up a half step just to have fun with you. Here we go. It's got an off-balance kind of tension that's not dissonant, so it's a lot of fun. That's Dorian. The 3rd mode we're going to talk about is Phrygian. Phrygian is so important because the flamenco music of the Andalusian Spanish gypsy people utilizes Phrygian, which is the 3 mode. There's a couple ways to interpret it, but essentially 3 mode means do, re, mi, starting on mi, which is the 3rd note of the major scale. Mi to mi in any key you like. It's real easy on guitar to do this in C, so I'm going to do it in C here. If you go to the 3 mode, it's on the bottom of the guitar. Here's low E. So if we're in the key of C, the 3rd note is E. So we go 1, 2, 3, E, and there's E. So we just play E to E, and if you can picture a keyboard, all the white notes starting on E, going to E in the next octave. It's really great on the guitar. It goes like this. Okay, now what I'm going to use for chords on this are something that some guys use. George Benson did a tune many years ago that used this part of this as a vamp, the famous guitar player. F major 7th to E minor 7th. And really the solos, a lot of things you can do, but what I'm going to base it on is the Phrygian or Gypsy minor. It's not the Gypsy minor scale, but it's used in flamenco gypsy music. See if you like this. Chick Corea did a lot of tunes. He comes from a Spanish background, I think, personally, and a lot of his music, great music, some of it utilizes the Phrygian mode quite effectively. And what that means is you find some key you want to play in and start on the third degree of the scale and run that scale and set up some chords that keep coming back to it, and you got a Phrygian thing. So we've talked about 3 modes there. 3, I like that. At no time do my fingers leave my hands anyways here. But the Mixolydian mode, which is the 5 mode, which is great for blues and rock and roll, and a real good Latin feel. The Dorian, which has kind of a jazz feel, which is based on the 2 chord, which is minor, whereas the Mixolydian is a dominant 7th chord for its main chord, and the Phrygian, which is E minor, and strangely you can use E major, but it's based on the 3rd degree of the scale. So if you're in the key of C, the Phrygian is E. Now, normally in the key of E, you use E minor, but the flamenco often use E major there, and it really gives an interesting twist. It's an E minor scale, an E minor Phrygian scale with G natural, but the chord they'll use is E major, so they get this. That's more than we should go into right there on that. Okay, we're going to talk about one more thing here. What we're going to talk about is expanding the blues. Most of you people who are watching have played blues, I think. And when I mean blues, I don't mean a blues style. I mean the blues form. And when I was a kid, in my youth, many years ago, the first kind of blues I learned was a simple rock and roll guitar blues, this kind of thing. That kind of thing. Okay, when I'm talking about expanding the blues, a lot of guys are pretty good players way beyond rock and roll, where they're playing pretty good blues. If you want to take that to a jazz level, there's a couple differences. First of all, in music, there's 4 elements: rhythm, melody, harmony, and tone. And the rhythm, we're going to talk about first. See if you can hear a change. I'm going to play a couple choruses. The first chorus, I'm going to play kind of what we think of as Chicago electric blues. Not as good, but... And then the chorus after that, I'm going to play what I think of as more of a jazz feel with the same group of chords. And before we start that, I'm going to work in the key of G here. When I get to the bottom of the last 4 bars of the 12 bars, instead of doing what rock and roll does, which is the 5 chord or the dominant chord, down to the subdominant, instead of doing that, I'm going to stay on the dominant chord, and we'll see why in a few minutes. So here we go with a kind of a Chicago blues imitation here. Okay. Back to the Chicago blues. Okay, the idea I'm trying to show you here is that jazz tends to work in square in this sense. The bass player is playing quarter notes. The piano player is often playing swinging eighth note kind of patterns, like, and I know that can be blues too. But the soloist usually is playing either eighth notes or 16th notes with an occasional triplet. One mistake a lot of players who are very good players make, they're trying to sound like jazz in a blues, and they're playing triplets, which is traditional blues style rather than jazz. Jazz will either be in eighth notes or in 16th notes, which at that tempo I can't handle too well. But rather than that triplet thing, so see if you can hear, I'm going to go from eighth notes to 16th notes and then back to eighth notes, trying not to do mainly the triplets. Here's what eighth notes sound. I'll do a little slower. And by the way, everything on any instrument should be played in slow motion at times. It's harder to play slow than fast, and you can get a lot of practice accomplished by playing slower. So I'll do the same kind of thing. I'll do it in the key of A instead, and I'm playing a lot slower. And I'm going from eighth notes to 16th. And tell me if this doesn't sound a little more. Yeah, give me a call tonight. A little more like jazz than the triplet feel. Here we go in the key of A. Scared myself with that. Yeah, the thing is, those were from eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and they're swinging a little bit, to 16th notes rather than the triplets in before. So listen if you can. I'm going to count. I'm not trying to get the way here, but I hope you listen. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. But the idea is doubling it rather than going to the intermediate, which is a triplet, which can be used effectively. So I'll play something that to me sounds like the guy's trying to play jazz, but he's not doing it because he won't either stay in eighth notes or double it. This kind of sound, which is a good sound for another thing. Guys can play like mad like that, but it never sounds like jazz to me if it doesn't either stay in the eighth notes or break to the 16th at a certain point. So I hope you understood that a little bit. I want to talk about, we're talking about the blues form, which I'm talking about the 12-bar blues form. So rhythmically, that's one thing. Try to practice playing from eighth notes to 16th. So a way to do that is take one chord, like a B flat major 7. Play quarter notes first. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Then play eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and then 16ths if you like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3. If you do it in slow motion, you get a lot more accomplished for practicing improvisational techniques or even writing techniques. We're going to look at a harmonic thing here. To expand the blues, we think of blues as being a 3-chord thing, and it starts out that way, but we can open that up quite a bit. One way to do that is to take, if we're in the key of B flat, and you go up to the fifth note of the B flat scale. So if B flat is 1, we get B flat, C, D, E flat, F. If you build a minor seventh on the chord of the 5 of the chord you're on, it's a B flat chord, I'm going to build a minor seventh here, becomes F minor seventh. See if this isn't opening up the blues. This is what I learned by listening to Wes Montgomery many years ago. Instead of this kind of sound, what Wes would do would be go up a fifth from each of those dominant chords, and really he's utilizing the suspension and the ninth and different things. It's got a really lovely sound to me. Here we go. We're in B flat still. If you can hear there, we can utilize the mixolydian that we talked about earlier, which is a major scale with the flatted seventh for that. I'm on B flat, but I can think of it like going from F minor, which is a chord that it's a substitute for the B flat, to G minor, which is another substitute for the